Like Adam wasn't given domain over the earth, he's given responsibility over the earth. It's not like, hey, I'm making a malik, I'm making a king, his name is Adam. Iblis, you're not the king, Adam's the king. It's not kingship. So it's not wealth and it's not kingship. And you know, in your family, what do people usually fight about and break the family over? Is usually inheritance, money, some stupid quarrel or something like that. But here it's nothing like that. There is no argument between him and Adam, there is no money, there is no kingship. It's religious authority. It's deen. Or you can even say recognition, religious recognition. You think of it like this, not to put the devil in the positive light, but let me put it in a story for you to understand it. Imagine that you're in a company and you you didn't graduate from college with a degree, and you go into this company and you start as a janitor, and you sweep the floor so good that they promote you to security. And you're security for 4, 5, 6 years. And then they give you an office job. And you do that really hard. And you work weekends and overtime. And you're seen as you're employee of the month. And you're given special emails sent out in all the company. And then you work for another 4, 5, 6 years. And you get a management job. And you work more. And then now you're a director. And then you work more and more. And now at this point you're 60 years old. You're close to retirement. And you're a VP. And the CEO, someone the board is picking a new CEO. And you're like, that's me. That's so me. I'm the success story of this company. I worked here, started when I was 15, and I worked my way up, and no one knows literally this company inside and out except for me. There is no way, you're just sitting back totally it's gonna be. I mean, who else could it be? Who else could it be? And then the board gets on the mic, and they're like, my son, who is 16, and his stupid kid on the side is chewing bubble gum and wearing a hat and what's up? He's going to be the new CEO. Now, wallah, really imagine, put yourself in those shoes. And you might have experienced this, by the way, to some degree, wallah, because this is not just a joke. We've experienced this. Wallah, how would you feel? Not to give him credit, yani, but to empathize with the position, yes? With the position he was put in. How would you feel? That would burn you. No pun intended, but that would... You would become smokeless fire, right? That would burn. Who's this twerp? What are you talking about? By the way, what was the complaint about Iblis? I'm better than him. I'm made of harder stuff. I've been at this company for 60 years. How dare you? That's my position. That's what he got upset over. How dare you, Allah? By the way, بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي, he says not in here, again in Araf. بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي, he says to Allah, because of you tricking me. By the way, he's al-ghawi. Shaitan is al-ghawi. He's the con artist in life. But the ghawi, this calls Allah what? You conned me. It's like the person back in this example yelling at the board, I can't believe you tricked me like this, I quit. To hell with this company, blah, blah, and all this kind of stuff, yes? That outrage that person had, he had it towards Allah. Because you, Ya Rabbi, because of what you did to me, you caused this to happen, that I'm going to, and then he promised that he's going to misguide humanity as long as he lives, until the end of time. That's where that promise comes from. Does that make sense? This is his position. Now, this is a test of his belief that he completely failed. And the reason he completely failed is because the belief wasn't there actually to begin with. I gave you the example this once, but I'll give it to you again. On the side of this road by the masjid, there were 3 or 4 trees on the side. I gave you this example, I wanted to give it one more time. There were 3 or 4 trees. And one tree, subhanAllah, was absolutely beautiful. It didn't only grow in the spring, but it grew and it had more bigger leaves and darker green, literally darker green leaves, and actually started budding flowers, and it was taller than all the other trees. It's a beautiful tree. You look at other trees and be like, you guys are suckers. Look at this one. What are you doing? Where are your roots at? You know what I mean? SubhanAllah, then all of a sudden this heavy storm came, just heavy wind, and trees were falling down left and right. And I drove by the masjid the next day, and out of all the trees, every tree stood tall and stood firm except for which one? The one that was beautiful and had flowers. That tree wasn't just uprooted, it snapped at the trunk, which now makes it useless. You can't repair that. And you're not going to wait 20, 30 years for it to regrow. What do you do with that tree? Rip it out, get a new one. Iblis was someone on the outside that was, and I hope you connect this to yourself, and not to people you know, but yourself. Iblis was someone that had a lot of outward beauty. so to speak, spiritually. He's someone that you saw like, man, I want to be like that guy. That guy is, mashallah, on the deen. Well, look at him. Look at him. But on the inside, because of this moment, he was exposed to have nothing at all. May Allah protect us from that. It's just to show us now, remember that there's two sides, like we studied before, when Allah defines a good person. One is the salah, one is like the hajj and the giving zakat and all of it, that's there. But the other part is simply doing good by others around you. Giving of yourself to others around you, being good to the family. I have at this point heard from 5 or 6 different people that they know someone who's front row at the masjid but beats their kids at home. Like from over the 20 years I've been like around this place, I've heard this multiple times. They're at the masjid, they cheat people in business. They're at the masjid but they drink. They're at the masjid but they harm their family. They're at the masjid but don't you dare talk to him because he's bad influence. These are not supposed to be two separate things. That's not what goodness is. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it. وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمْ. Okay, one more thing about it, please. Sorry, one more thing. Actually, no, I'll save that for a little bit. وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمْ. And then we told to Adam, أُسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ. Seek tranquility, or settle, actually we'll use the word settle, uskun, settle. Anta wa zawjuka, you and your wife, al-jannah, in paradise. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شَئْتُمَا. And eat from it, both of you eat from it carefree, wherever you want. وَرَغَدًا حَيْثُ شَئْتُمَا. Now, but before we go on from this, I want to call out one word is uskun. Allah commands Adam specifically, by the way. Because when Adam and Hawa are they both exist at this point in the story. But Allah is talking to who right now specifically of the two? Is Adam alayhi salam. So we're actually going to learn a little bit about marriage here. Ironically from yesterday, but still it's important points to make. Uskun anta wa zawjuka. He could have said uskuna, both of you settle. That could have been because they both exist. But he's talking to who of the two? Adam, to the male, Adam alayhi salam. Uskun anta wa zawjuka. So you settle. Now, sakina, there's a couple of things about sakina I want to talk about. Because I also talked about it last night, I want to refresh you on a couple of things. Number one, it means to settle someplace. Sakina comes from tranquility even. Like you feel tranquility. It means stillness. Actually, like the word sakin. What is sakin? Is a knife. It's literally a tool used to make the animal still. SubhanAllah, is that word, yeah? A sakin, like the animal's moving. So then what happens? What does a sakin do? Now it's still. It's literally a tool that makes something still. But there's stillness in this word. However, hidden in this word also is movement. It's actually when something is moving and then stays still. And then it moves again and then stays still again. Meaning settle and move and settle and move. It's up to you. You go wherever you want. You go wherever you want, okay? But there's also peace and tranquility in this word. Now what's important about this is two things I want to highlight. Number one, by Allah telling Adam alayhi salam and commanding the man in the relationship, the man of the household, there's two lessons that we kind of get on this side that we have to keep in mind. Number one, settlement, meaning what the household looks like and where the household is the primary responsibility of this side of the room. On the other hand, something that we learn about this is that peace is the primary responsibility of this side of the room. Which, wallah, when you think of even the households we grew up in, it puts us to shame, that we've abandoned this. But peace in the household is actually our responsibility on this side as men. So for example, and this is a little bit of a harsh reality, if there is any sort of instability in the household, from the wife, from the children, from whatever the case may be, the primary person that's supposed to not get angry, diffuse the situation, find a solution, be emotionally available even, is actually the man of the relationship. When Allah tells Adam uskun, it's not just being able to choose where to live, but the tranquility of the household rests on the man's shoulders. So I'll give you an example of this. If a fight breaks out, and fights in marriage get really crazy sometimes. Fights get to the point where things are thrown and threats are made and crazy things of like, you were always ugly and I always hated you, and it gets to that point. You laugh, but really, it gets so emotional because this person's so close to you that it gets to the point you say really ridiculous things sometimes. When it gets to that point, it is actually something that's more so heavier on this side where you're supposed to be like, oh, I have a comeback so good. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. I need to calm myself. And she may be still throwing punches. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. And she may throw things. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. It is your responsibility. You know how, like, for example, modern skyscrapers, they have like at the, what are they called? That they like those, what is it? The foundation, like, it helps against earthquakes. You know what I'm talking about? Like modern skyscrapers are built to, like, be earthquake proof. You are supposed to have those shocks within you. You have to do whatever it takes to make sure you have those shocks within you. There's responsibility on this side, of course, please don't get me wrong, of course. But in reality, if the responsibility leads on one side, it would be this side. That no matter what is thrown at you physically or emotionally, whatever, you're supposed to be the one that takes those shocks. So that's something that we get from that. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. And eat from it whatever, carefree, and live wherever you want in Jannah. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Here's the famous part of it. The only thing is, don't go near this specific tree. لا تقرب هذه الشجرة فتكون من الظالمين. Then you would be of the wrongdoers. فأزلهما الشيطان. And shaitan caused them to slip. Notice, subhanAllah, the perfection of Allah's language here. Before he was not called shaitan, what was he called? Iblis. Now that he did the deed, now he's officially shaitan. SubhanAllah. So it's like Allah switching the word because now the identity settled. He will no longer from this day on be known as Iblis, the honored one. Now he's shaitan. Shaitan, by the way, shatana means a couple of things. Shatana means the one that's cursed, the one that's rejected, for example. Shatana also means someone that is so hopeless that it causes him to be in constant anger. Which, by the way, later on in the surah, we will see Adam alayhi salam, when he's sent to the world, feels hopelessness, fear, and grief, and Allah resolves it with revelation. But Iblis, even though he received revelation as well, like he learned, he knew, he prayed. Even though he understood something, a revelation himself, there was still hopelessness in Allah. He replaced what should have been in his heart, what should have had a station, where Allah should have reserved a station, actually he reserved that station. Istakbara. He put himself in a place he didn't deserve in his own heart. Yeah, which is why he couldn't handle what he couldn't handle. Anyway, فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانِ. So shaitan caused them to slip. And A'raf, the word Allah used is for this exact moment of causing them to slip and make the mistake, is the same word used for bringing a bucket out of a well. You guys ever do that before? I think I had the opportunity to do this once, where like you turn the thing and it goes. And how long does that take? Forever. He's just like, I'll get him. Like he's a little bit of time patient. He builds friendship. He makes promises. What's the big deal? It's okay. You can go close to it. What does it taste like, I wonder? And in A'raf, we know that he promised him specific things. He would even actually, in A'raf, we know that he approached him and was like, I'm someone that means well for you. I'm someone that means well for you. I'm your friend. And actually, if you eat from this tree, you're going to be here forever. I got the memo before you were created. I got the memo that you're going to be leaving Jannah soon. Because what was the memo? إِنِّي جَعَلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I'm going to put in the ard, on the earth, in the ard, I'm going to put a khalifa. Adam doesn't know this, by the way, alayhi salam. The announcement was before his creation. Iblis knew because he was in the crowd. So he'd go to Adam and be like, actually, you don't have a permanent visa. You're going to be deported soon. I got the email. Isn't that not the case? Like he got the memo. But if you want to stay here forever, I know about a tree. I mean well for you, man. I just don't want to see you be fired from this company. I've been here a long time. It can be pretty cutthroat here. You see where this is going? So Adam's like, oh man, maybe you're right. Like I love it here so much. Obviously he's in Jannah. So then فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانِ. He caused them to slip by that. Just think of that, and wallah, really think about it for yourself. Think about like, I don't want to spell it out for you, but like if you just, I know that website has something sometimes, but I'm sure this time it'll be fine. And if there is, you just skip through it. You have control. And then I'm sure if you just read the comments, it's fine. You'll be okay. I'm sure you just send her one DM just asking her if she's okay. You'll be okay. It's okay. You're being kind to her. Don't you care about your Muslim sister? You laugh, dude, by half the room, I'm sure, at least. Yani, you get it. I'm sure she's your sister in Islam, dude. If you're not there for her, who's going to be there for her? You understand where this is going? And then slowly and surely, I don't want to go through a tangent, but you know the story of Barsisa. Maybe one day we'll talk about that. But slowly but surely you earn the trust even in yourself. And before you know it, you're in a place you never would have thought. You never would have thought. فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ عَنْهَا فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ. So he caused them to leave the place that they were in. مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ وَقُلْ نَحْبِطُوا مِنْهَا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ. And Allah made the announcement, all of you leave. Meaning Iblis, Adam and Hawa, all of you leave. بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ. And we'll comment on this and we'll take a break. Some of you are enemies to others, Allah says. اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا. All of you descend. اهْبِطُوا literally means descend. اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ. Some of you are enemies to others. Now remember, who is he talking to as a party of three? You have Iblis, Adam, or rather start with Adam, Hawa, and Iblis. And he's saying to them, descend, some of you are enemies to others. The first way I want you to think of this is, who is an enemy to who? There's man and wife, and the enemy is who? Shaitan. Iblis, Shaitan. The devil versus man and woman. And then another way to think of it is, Shaitan will get to man and woman, so then who becomes an enemy to who? Man becomes an enemy to him because of the whispers of Shaitan. And then even when they have offspring, some of those, one tribe will be an enemy to another. One country will be an enemy to another. One religion an enemy to another, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? But I want to focus on this first part. I want to end it with this. This is something I need, especially Muslims, to understand. This is one of the things about Quran that everyone should know. So listen, pay attention, and we'll stop for coffee. In A'raf, you know the reason, I wanted to read it to you directly so you would believe me. This is an amazing lesson, wallahi. You know, Allah, because that conversation with Iblis is highlighted so much in A'raf, you know Allah actually gives the reason as to why Shaitan wanted them to eat from the tree. What was the reason, you think? Does anyone know actually? I want to take a guess, or anyone know from A'raf? What is the reason? Because Allah highlights, literally Allah says, He whispered to them so that He can get blank result. What result did Iblis want? Good guess, but no.
No, like we can be swayed and manipulated easily.
I mean, yes, but no. These are all correct, but there's one thing he wanted.
He can't become an angel?
No. He can't become an angel. Go ahead.
He wanted to show that he's better than Adam.
No. Good guess, but no.
He wanted to prove Allah wrong.
No. He did, but no.
To be immortal?
No.
The free will decision is allowing you to make that.
Now y'all are just guessing. So they can get their clothes taken away. Read A'raf. It's not far from the beginning. And see for yourself. I should just read it to you. I wish I had it open. After the break, I'll see it. The reason why he wanted them to eat from the tree is he knew they're dressed with clothes from where? Jannah. If they get deported from Jannah, what do they also lose? The clothes off their back. He wanted it so that their nudity can be shown. That was his end goal. Now, why in the world, of all things, for Shaitan, in his perspective, first of all, what a pervert, but second of all, these are all good answers. So we can show ingratitude and rebel against Allah and blah, blah, blah. I get it. Show superiority, yes. But why would he want this? Think of Iblis, the one that wants our destruction, because he's our enemy. Yani when our number one enemy is the Shaitan. That's what our number one, Allah just called him our enemy. Why in the world does our enemy want man and woman's clothes off? Why does he care? Shame. Let me actually, because I want us to take a break real fast. Okay. I want you to think of all of the pieces, really think about this. All of the different pieces of society that we have. Like the country, down to a city, down to a township, down to a subdivision, down to the family system, down to the marriage. Societally speaking, in terms of sociology, the smallest unit of society is a family. Not the because that's individual, so that's like psychology. In sociology, the smallest unit is what? The family. Are you following so far? So when you think about it, think of America. The entire country is built up of states, and all those states are built up of cities, and all of those cities are built up of townships, and those townships are built out of subdivisions on city blocks of individual homes. And who's in those homes? Individual families. And the heart of the family is what? The man and the wife. Their marriage. Their marriage is what keeps that household together. For example, there are studies, and this should be obvious, but anyway, we have research to back it up. The majority of people who go to prison, people who end up using hard drugs, even, forgive me, but this is the truth. This is research behind it. You can look it up yourself. Of the majority of the LGBTQ community even, the majority of people that don't do well in school, for example, when you go back to what is one common theme for a lot of these different things, it actually goes back to an unstable household. And what is the main cause for a stable versus unstable household is what? The actual marriage. Shaitan, think of it like a game of Jenga. You never play, like I play Jenga sometimes, and I like Jenga very much. I recommend the game. Anyway, so you think of a game of Jenga, and you have sometimes players that play like a good game of Jenga. But then you have these annoying players, man, that they keep going for the bottom pieces just to make the game impossibly like anxious, and you're sweating and you're like, why do you take down the bottom two pieces, dude? Now the whole game's on like that bottom piece. I'm spending a lot of time on this, but it's very annoying. I want you to imagine a game of Jenga that is society, and the whole game is piled on one block. And Iblis knows, if I want to bring down the human being, if I want to bring down countries, what piece do I take down? Do I start from the top and go to politicians, blah, blah, blah? All I have to do is mess with what piece? The marriage. If I pull that piece, what happens to everything else? And wallahi, where are we at right now? Actually, this ba'dukum li ba'din adu, Allahu alam, my understanding of it is originally it's man and wife versus who? Shaitan. We're supposed to be partners. But wallah, even look at our own, like as Americans, wallah, look, are we partners? Wallahi, men hate women and women hate men nowadays. There is a deep hatred. Don't say true and don't take pride. This is not. Okay. Externally, yes? Okay, I saw face. All right, Mr. Okay. All right. I love women, he said. I love women. All right, Bismillah. That was a funny response. I was talking about Jenga. Oh, let's try to get through. I just heard this. Yes. Guys just heard you because of the mic. Okay, I'm not going to share. Sorry, Bismillah. It's okay, we're going to continue. I'm going to try to get through the rest of this quickly and then show you guys the overview, and then we'll call it quits for this passage, inshallah, and move on to something else. Okay. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. So going back to the scene where Allah is telling them to descend and leave, and some of you are enemies to others. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ. And on the earth, he's talking to all three of them. On the earth, you're going to have mustaqar. If you were here last time, we talked about qurratu ayn. Remember that? Of like the coolness of my eyes. Or like comfort, for example. Meaning you will find comfort on the earth. Again, it's like the antithesis of the Christian narrative where this is a punishment. Allah is actually saying again, you're going to find comfort here, and mata' ila hin, which you can see as enjoyment, or even as tools is a good word for it. Utility, meaning you'll find tools you can use, food you can eat, so on and so forth. You will find both. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. Now, Adam alayhi salam in Jannah does not have to deal with a lot of different things. He doesn't have to deal with feeling lost. He does not have to deal with sadness. He does not have to, because in Jannah, for example, even things like jealousy are taken away from you. Anger is taken away. Any negative feeling you have. One of the most beautiful, because Allah describes Jannah in a lot of detail, and we don't give a lot of credit. We give credit to like, you have all you can eat buffets and palaces, and that's good stuff. But some of the more simple things even we really take for granted. For example, the idea that you will never hear an evil word again. And we've all had experiences where someone says something that literally for decades we can't forget that they say it. I can't believe you said that to me. I'll never forget that you said this 5 years ago, or, man, you're not over that yet? No, that hurt me deep. That kind of thing. You will never hear a word like that again. You will not experience any internal or external sadness or grief or fear or pain ever again in Jannah. May Allah grant us Jannah. Now Adam alayhi salam was enjoying that, along with obviously everything else, the food and living where you want and the beauty and blah, blah, blah. And here in the world, like he sees, in Islam, we believe like the world is a little bit of a mirror, a sample of Jannah even, you can argue. Yeah, we know this. Like seeing a mountain in the world and all its majesty and beauty is actually supposed to think of as, man, I wonder what he has in store for us. Or having like the food that we love, like I cannot wait to have this all the time, or even better, who knows what's out there for us. All that kind of stuff. Now, he's seeing physically things that remind him. Apple, I saw fruit before. Not that tree was an apple, but I've seen fruit before. I've seen mountain, I've seen grass. It's not as good, but it's still beautiful, and so on and so forth. But the new stuff that he has is like, oh my God, I feel guilty. I feel so afraid. I feel cold. I feel sad. I feel anxiety. What is this? And so what does Allah give him? فَتَلَقَّى آدَمَ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ. And by the way, to highlight one over others is he feels guilt. He feels guilty. Like I had one, this is the classic, you had one job. Astaghfirullah, but he doesn't even have an excuse, by the way. Yeah, imagine you have all of Jannah and like the tree got you. I mean, dude, there was like a billion trees, what happened, In his mind, alayhi salam, it's like he had no excuse. I can't believe I had one job and I disobeyed Allah in this way. So what does Allah do? And it shows you the mercy of Allah. By the way, wallah, think about yourself. Think about even those of you that like feel like you know a lot or are close to Allah or come to the masjid, whatever, and you commit something that you think is, and that is even disgusting, something that you know better, that you would expect of someone that doesn't do what you do even. For those of you that really tried really hard with your deen, and you commit a mistake like this, look what Allah does for him. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. So Adam immediately, by the فَتَلَقَّى, not ثُمَّ. Allah could have said ثُمَّ, like then eventually we let him kind of stew in his guilt, because we wanted him to feel it. You know how like some people, they even paint astaghfirullah, Allah as a sadistic being. Like I want you to feel it, how you wronged the law that I gave you. No, فَتَلَقَّى, immediately, as soon as he landed on earth, immediately Allah gave him something. What did he give him? تَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ. Adam came into contact with words from his master. Meaning now Allah's not talking to him directly. He sends an angel and gives him revelation. Now what are these words? Because he said he gave him words. كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. And as a result of these words, he forgave Adam. فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. Taba is so much more beautiful than just to forgive, by the way. Tawbah is like doing a U-turn is tawbah. Like when you do tawbah, you're doing you do course correction, you go back to Allah, you ask for forgiveness and you course correct and that's it. By the way, I want to call out one beautiful thing about forgiveness in deen that I want to call out to you that is actually it's beautiful. It's both beautiful and amazing and hard to accept at the same time. If you ask for forgiveness after any deed, and I will highlight pretty much any deed, and you ask for forgiveness, you are not allowed to wonder whether or not Allah forgave you. Allah forgave you. Period. There is no, but I don't know, I didn't get an email, I have no idea, I need to think about this and worry about it for the rest of my life. No. A good person, by the way, will feel shame over the past and will ask for forgiveness constantly. That's good. But we're not supposed to, in our faith, we don't develop OCD over what istighfar is. You make istighfar, and you know how Allah says, I am what my servant thinks of me. We are supposed to have a good idea about who Allah is. And the good idea that Allah plants in us through Quran, if we're people of Quran, is that when you make istighfar, when you ask for forgiveness, He forgives, period. Period. Again, the fa again, not ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِ, immediately. The tree thing never happened. The tree thing never happened. You're good. فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. Taba ala, but taba ila is us to Allah, by the way. Taba ala is Allah Himself turned to Adam. Like the whole, remember I gave you the example of like connecting it to even children wanting to see the face of their mother or their father. And they actually develop a healthy psychology through that seeing of their father and mother's face. And now Allah's turning His face towards the creation. Like what better upbringing than that for the believer, subhanAllah. is Allah's like turning Himself towards us when we do tawbah to Him. May Allah accept our tawbah. إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. And it's as if Allah pressed pause on the story with Adam and said, by the way, if you think this is just because he's a prophet or because he was the first human being, no. إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. No doubt about it. إِزَالَةَ الشَّكِّ. To remove any sort of doubt, inna is used. He is at-Tawwab and He is ar-Rahim. Meaning this counts for all, y'all. This is for anybody. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've done. إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. Subhanallah. I swear, I know I go back to this point, but there's such a difference between how we're raised with the deen and what the deen is sometimes. That Quran just like correctly rewires you back to how you're supposed to think, man. Subhanallah. It's just a beautiful thing. Okay. He goes back to the original scene of saying descend. Remember how Allah said, descend all of your enemies to each other? Sometimes Allah will do this in the story where He'll go back to a previous point and fill in the scene. Just like like in Breaking Bad. Sometimes, if you, whatever, and all these, like in a good show, I'll say, sometimes what they do is they go back to an old scene with a different angle and give you more information. He goes back to that same scene, and there's something he didn't share before that he shares now. قُلْ نَحْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا. All of you descend. Which he said something like it before. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ. This is new though. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ مِنِّي هُدًى. This is by the way before the tawbah, right? Because we're going to the past now. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ مِنِّي هُدًى. And I will tell you, listen to this closely. Where am I getting to listen to this closely? فَإِمَّا. That didn't have to be there. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ. If you were to come into contact, minni hudan, from any sort of guidance that came from me, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ. Then whoever follows my guidance, this beautiful, beautiful saying that I'm sure you've heard before, فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Then they will not be, no fear will be on them, and they will not be sad. What a beautiful promise. By the way, is this just a promise of akhirah? Of the next life? This is a promise for now. Because they're leaving Jannah now. Yes? He's going to the earth. And Allah is saying, you right now, you feel anxiety, Adam. And you're going to feel sadness. But if you get any sort of words from me, any guidance from me, and you follow it, and this promise, by the way, goes to men, anybody who does this. And the deal is open for literally anybody and everybody. Not just these three people. Or really these two, because shaitan's a lost cause, but these two individuals, anybody who follows the guidance I give them, any part, by the way, of the guidance that I give them, فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. They will have no fear on them, nor will they be sad. Now, I want to highlight this really quickly. The two things that human beings constantly deal with. Number one is anxiety for the future, because fear is something not for the past, but for the future. Anxiety is a constant. Right now in your head, just think, what am I worried about? At least something. No one's just carefree. Everyone's worried about something. Even the ultra wealthy are worried about something. Fir'aun was worried about something. You know what I mean? Everybody's worried about something. It's a constant. No matter what you do, you always have fear as a human being. And then huzun, sadness, is something for the past. You're not sad about the future, you're sad about the past. So maybe something that you've done in the past, something that's happened to you in the past, you think about it and you're like, man, why did that have to happen? Why did that have to happen to me? And Allah's promising two things for the person that follows guidance. You will not have fear on you, and that sadness in the past, I'll take care of that as well. It's a beautiful promise from Allah. I want to highlight one thing about khawfun alayhim, because there's a little bit of specificity in the language. What's being said is that you will never feel fear. I want to call this out. He's not saying you will never feel fear. He's saying you will never be feared upon. What does that mean, being feared upon? Let's say, for example, you have like a daughter, and she's like a year and a half, doesn't talk yet, babbles still, or whatever. Okay. And she's playing with the snake. But she's a 1-year-old. She has no idea that this is dangerous yet. Because babies aren't born with the same fears that we have. They're born with like a fear of darkness and falling. I think that's the only natural fears that we have. Everything else is learned. If I'm right about those two things, it's like the fear is like literally down to like one or two things naturally. If she's playing with a snake and she doesn't feel fear, but there's still fear what? On her. You're still like, oh my God, what do we do? She doesn't know it, but she's in danger. Okay? But let's say she has like a weird disorder or something, may Allah protect our children, and she's by a teddy bear. And she's afraid of the teddy bear because it looks, not even a disorder, it looks scary to her. And she's crying because of this teddy bear. Is there fear on her? Even though she's experiencing it, is there any fear actually on her? No. What Allah is promising here is, even if you feel insecure, people that follow my guidance know that I have them. I will have you. Even if bombs drop on you, I know, I don't have fear on you. Like you can, because the one place my head went was Gaza with this. Because they're experiencing PTSD, let alone fear. PTSD they're experiencing heavy anxiety. But even Allah looking at them is like, no, I know where, like I have you. I'm taking care of you. I have something, I have no fear over you. You're going to be fine. It's this trust. I was telling my wife earlier that one of the most beautiful, in my opinion, one of the biggest gifts of Quran and Deen and Islam in general, of the gifts of Allah really, the gifts of Allah in general, is that a believer, if they're close to Allah, they get that kind of really, like that closeness to Allah. I promise you this exists. You will achieve this sweetness of faith that wallahi, like things that would drive another person mad, you will be fine. The death of a child, and you'll be smiling. Poverty, and you'll be okay. You'll be tested with things that will make, literally, and I don't mean this to be hyperbolic, that will drive others to kill themselves. And the believer is like, no, I'm good. Well, look at Gaza. Look at how they still talk. Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm cussing at this, I'm cursing, I'm so angry. And they're still like, no, alhamdulillah. No, Allah's with us. They'll be mad when they say it, but they're like, no, Allah's with us. We don't even want, they're talking to the screen. I don't even care that you're recording us anymore. No, Allah, I don't need this, Allah has us. They get to a special point in their deen, in their faith, in their hearts, that the thing that would drive anyone else to destroy themselves, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. This is a special thing that is a result of following guidance. And inshallah, I want to dedicate at least a surah that I have in mind that I want to tell you that it can help us achieve that inshallah soon, in the future. And lastly, and then we'll want to go to a structure and then we'll be done. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, on the flip side, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and the people that disbelieved, that denied, the people that were ungrateful, the people that buried, remember kufr is to bury. They buried deep this fitrah that I installed, they pretended that it didn't exist. They denied me altogether. Those people, and وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا, and they lied against the signs when they came to them and they were clear to them. أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ, all these people are companions of the fire. هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ, in that they're going to be in there forever. Believers will be in Jannah together, but they're going to have this forever. That concludes the passage. One thing I want to do, I think I'll stand up for this, and guys, if you want to go to the next slide and keep it on the blank white screen. One thing I like to do at the end of a passage, hopefully I can do this in 5 minutes inshallah for discussion. Do I need the mic? Am I good with that? I'm loud enough, yes? Yeah. People say I'm very loud and obnoxious, so I don't think I need this. I need this for Qais, obviously I need this for Qais. Sorry Qais. Okay, I'll hold this. I really wanted to hold the coffee. You know what? I'm an overachiever. Okay, so Bismillah. What I like to do by the end, if I have something to share, and this usually happens with like a passage, is we talked about this a number of times before, but the nadam in the Quran, the structure of the Quran in certain passages, yes? So, we just went over like a page and a half, basically. And what I want to do is, again, I want to get us in a helicopter, fly up in the sky and look down at the way Allah structured these. We went into each one in detail for the most part. I want to look up and then see the macro. How are these structured together? Does that make sense? So if you want, you can follow on your phone, but if you were here, especially all 4 sessions, or if you're familiar, then you'll know what I'm talking about as we go through this. So what you're going to see is a bunch of boxes with different themes that were covered so far in the story, and you can double check this on your own in your free time. So if we go to the first one, guys, the story opens up with وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ. Okay, I'm summarizing it with angels were told something. Okay, this is by the way work from Bayyinah that I borrowed, which really I borrowed, meaning I'm not giving back, I stole it. So the angels were told something, an announcement was made to the angels. Okay, and guys, you can keep going. Guys, actually just go to the end of this first row if you don't mind, keep going. The next part, after the angels were told, they were then told, I know what you don't know. That conversation of, I have knowledge that you don't have. The next thing, That knowledge, a part of that knowledge was taught to Adam alayhi salam. Okay, you following so far? So announcement was made, the conversation that ended with Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun, I know what you don't know. And then next, that knowledge, a lot of it was given to who? Adam alayhi salam. And then it culminates with the angel saying, La ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. We don't know anything at all except for what you taught us. This is you can say the humility in terms of knowledge. That the human being, we can never really achieve knowledge that Allah has, obviously. Yes, that we're looking at life through a tube and Allah sees the whole picture, so to speak. Now if we continue close to the bottom, you'll see it reversing. Adam tells them the names. So at first Allah taught Adam the names and Adam teaches the angels the names. And then, didn't I tell you, Allah turns to the angels again and says, didn't I tell you that I know the ghaib of the samawat wal ard? I knew what you don't know. And then it ends with, close to the end, angels were told again, didn't I tell you I know the ghaib of the samawat wal ard? Like I mentioned before, you'll notice again what's going on, everybody, if you're following along. You have the structure where the beginning of the story matches the end. Are you guys all seeing this? Who's confused right now? Raise your hand. Okay, maybe you're too nervous to admit it. So listen, the angels, this is like, they're told to, forgive me, they're told to make sujood. So announcement to the angels. I know what you don't know. Didn't I tell you that I know what you don't know? Allah taught Adam the names. Adam taught the angels the name, informed them of their names. Anbi'u bi asma'ihim. Anbi'hum bi asma'ihim, excuse me. And then in the middle, we know absolutely nothing, subhanallah. So there's this balance between the angel speaking, not being humble, and in the middle we know absolutely nothing. This, by the way, was the problem of Iblis, is that he assumed he knew something that Allah, astaghfirullah, didn't understand. Possibly, does that make sense? This is the humility that Adam alayhi salam had and the angels had. I know what you don't know, and we know absolutely nothing. But the stories, that's only half the story, right? I told you that one half of the story focuses on Adam and the angels. The second half focuses on who and who? Adam and Iblis. So guys, if you can just go until the middle. In the beginning, shaitan aba wastakbara wa kana min al-kafirin. Next, uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. Be tranquil in the garden. Find sakina, find peace in the garden. Then ihbitu minha jami'an. Descend. بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌ. Yeah? Like you two are some of your enemies to others. And then فَتَلَقَى Adam. He finds words, he comes into contact with words from Allah, and he asks for repentance. And then guys, go ahead and finish it to the end. And again, you have ihbitu, literally the same word repeated, subhanallah. By the way, again, you can literally, if you read Quran even in English, you will find these on your own. If you pay attention, especially to words that are repeated. Because here you literally have ihbitu. At that point, the reader should be like, why is this repeated? And then you can kind of find these structures on your own. And then over here, subhanallah, the same thing as uskun anta wa zawjuka, find peace in the garden. If you follow my guidance, you can experience that same peace. Or as close as you can to it, subhanallah. And at the very end, the rebels are destroyed. And where do we get that? Is that وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا? Like people, the people who disbelieve, they'll be placed in the fire. هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Subhanallah. So shaitan rebels, people of the fire. Be tranquil, no fear, no grief. Descend, and in the middle, what is it? Words in repentance. And even if you compare, subhanallah, the beginning, we know absolutely nothing. Who do we depend on to know what we can't know? It's actually Allah giving us words. Subhanallah. And you literally have, by the way, angels, the devil. Angels, the consequence of the devil. It's just, isn't that awesome? Subhanallah. Like this flies in the face of this is the words of a man. Like how do you freestyle rap and come up with this? Subhanallah. Something beautiful I thought I'd share. Does this make sense? What's going on here? We're splitting into themes and we're noticing that Allah built a structure while telling a story at the same time. Subhanallah.